Okay, we are going to look at federalism. Federalism is this division of power between state governments, or excuse me, between our national government and our state governments, and we're going to divide that power evenly. And so we're going to take a look at a Venn diagram here in just a second. But this is just showing that division of power and how it's divided down the center. So in the Venn diagram, what we're going to show is how this power is shared. And if we see here, you have a national government with shared powers with the local governments, and we call our local governments state governments. Depends on which country you're in. Depends on what they're going to call theirs. And so, like I said, we're going to fill this Venn diagram out. The first one here, we're going to look at the national government and then the states. There are certain powers that are given to the national and state governments, and then there are also certain powers that are denied to both of them. So we're going to look at each one of those. National powers are called delegated powers, and then the powers that are given to the states are called reserved powers. Powers that are given to both are called concurrent powers. And so when we look at that, there are three different types of delegated powers. The first one is expressed. Those are written out. Implied means we're not going to write them out, but because of other parts of the Constitution, we can kind of assume that we have those. And inherent powers exist at the national level because we exist as a nation. So there are certain things we have to do as a country. Reserved powers actually come from the 10th Amendment. Those powers not delegated to the national government are reserved for the states. Denied powers to the national government comes from Article 1, Section 9. Powers denied to the states come from Article 1, Section 10. So if we look at expressed powers, those come from Article 1, Section 8. Power to declare war, power to coin money, power to raise an army. Those types of things are all expressed. Implied powers come from Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18. This is also known as the elastic clause or the necessary and proper clause, and we'll look a lot at that while we're in class. Some of those things are like building roads and highways and things like that. Inherent powers belong to us because we are a national government. We should be able to regulate immigration. We should be able to acquire new territory. All of those things are inherent because we exist as a nation. Types of powers that fall under the 10th Amendment, these are given specifically to the states. So determining how old to be married, drinking ages, road laws like speed limits and seatbelt laws and things like that. Whether you can sell alcohol on Sundays, that's something the state legislature is actually looking at. Concurrent powers are those that exist between both of the state and the national government have those. They both have the power to tax. They both have the power to make laws. They both have the power to enforce laws. So those are ones that both the national and the state share. That's why they use that term, concurrent powers. Those that are denied to the national government, specifically the state and the national government cannot tax each other. So Article 1, Section 9 gives a list of the things that are denied to the national government, and we will look at those. And then Article 1, Section 10 is going to give us a list of those things that are denied to the states. We can't grant titles of nobility. The national government can't tax exports. We learned that. State governments can't tax imports or exports. That's only something that's left up to the national level. So the states can't coin money because that's specifically given to the national government. Those powers that are given, like coining money, like declaring war, those are called exclusive powers. They are exclusive to the national government. The state government cannot get involved in those. Like I said, coining money, regulating immigration, declaring war, entering treaties, raising an army, raising a navy. Article 6, Section 2 of the Constitution is the Supremacy Clause, and we've talked about that before. If there's ever a conflict between state laws and national laws, according to Article 6, we are supposed to go with the national law. So what we're going to see here is the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, followed by acts of Congress. And on that same level, I want you to add treaties. Acts of Congress and treaties are actually on the same line. If we have an act of Congress that goes against a treaty, the one that is going to be the one that we should look at is the one that is the most recent. So if we entered into a treaty 50 years ago and a new act of Congress does something that violates that treaty or goes against or makes that treaty null and void, we're going to go with the act of Congress because it's more recent. So then you have state constitutions which cannot violate an act of Congress or the Constitution. State laws cannot violate the state constitution, acts of Congress, or the Constitution. Then we get to city and local laws, can't violate state statutes, which can't violate state constitution, which can't violate acts of Congress, which can't violate the Constitution. So this is called the ladder of supremacy, and we always, whichever one is higher on the ladder is the one that is supreme. This is the one that they're going to look at to determine whether Colorado, Washington, I believe Alaska just legalized marijuana use too. All of them are violating federal laws, and the higher rung on here is an act of Congress says it is against the law to have marijuana, smoke marijuana, sell it, or anything like that. But now the states are allowing it to happen, so they're in clear violation of this ladder of supremacy. So we'll have to see what happens there.